Trump is telling people he thinks he'll be reinstated as president in August. Business Insider story. Trump has been telling people he thinks he'll return to the White House as a sitting president by August. The New York Times reporter Maggie Haberman tweeted on Tuesday. Haberman, who broke some of the biggest stories of the Trump administration and has been covering him for decades, added that Trump has been laser focused on election audits in states where results he is still trying to overturn. The anti-democratic conspiracy theory has been bubbling up in the fringe conservative media for several months. It has no basis under the Constitution or any legitimate legal framework. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell has been a prominent proponent of the theory. The former Trump attorney Sidney Powell also floated the idea at a QAnon conference, which is also called the Gateway Pundit Conference over the weekend. Thoughts?
Oh, man, I got to tell you, well, I hope he's right. But on the other hand, man, I think they stole it fair and square. At some point, you've got to learn. And they know what they did. They are slow rolling out their excuses. They've now started using the term fortifying the election. They didn't steal the election, they fortified the election, right? And you have that New York Times, I'm sorry, it was a Time Magazine article that detailed step by step how they did it and what they did. And when I say they, this is not just the Democrats, by the way. This is the Cheney Republicans, the Bush faction, the neocons, the quote-unquote swamp, all the war hawks that wanted us. And again, it tells you everything you need to know about why Biden was put in power by the powers that be, that after a year and a half of holding the country political hostage, before they gave a single stimulus check to any American, they gave $250 million to Raytheon and started dropping bombs on Syria. Tells you all you need to know about what Washington prioritizes and what they don't. And Trump wasn't giving them their blood money. Trump wasn't sending people overseas to die, and they didn't like that, so they got rid of them. And they did it legally, though. See, they did steal the election, but they did it legally. They did it may be corrupt, but it was legally corrupt. What they did in Georgia, what they did in Pennsylvania, they changed the election laws specifically to allow them to cheat. If anything, I blame Republicans for not being willing to play in the mud, right? If the Democrat dead can vote, why can't the Republican dead vote? You have to do what you have to do to win. I'm so sick and tired of Republicans talking about...
You really believe that's what happened?
Absolutely. Okay. I'm so sick and freaking tired of Republicans wanting to be like, well, we did things the right way. We were noble. No, you lost. At some point, if you keep losing, you're not noble. You're a sucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they keep changing the rules and you keep playing by their rules that they don't even play by, you're not noble. You're a sucker.
Well, here's the question. Are they going to be able to adapt if that's the different game plan now? That's what we're going to find out in a couple of years.
Get out in front for once.
We'll see if they're that visionary. You know, in a related story to this one, did you hear about Nancy Pelosi? She says she's going to be the captain of the Laker girls next year. All right, that has about as much relevant.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes, I am. Because it's about the equivalent.
I was about to say, I had already,
you never know with LeBron.
Lost me.
You never know with
this
LeBron.
Was like
LeBron
the
might bring her on.
Yeah, LeBron might say, I'm mandating this. You know, here's the thing. This is why I truly believe Trump's not running again. Because say what you want about him, I don't think he's a complete idiot. And would he want a message like this out there? I mean, really, this just sounds so preposterous and so ridiculous. Yeah. And there's no one with half a brain cell that actually believes that. It's physically... Everything about it is impossible. By the way, I'm more interested in the other Trump that's in the news this week, Donald Trump Jr.
He's hilarious.
Did you hear he's on Cameo now? Do you know what he's charging for his videos? He's charging $600. $600 to get a video from Donald Trump Jr. He says they need the money because of all the attacks from New York,
Absolutely.
You know, from the Attorney General and whatnot. So here's the funniest thing about Donald Trump Jr.'s bio on Cameo, right? For his profile, he lists himself as a New York Times bestselling author. I mean, why would you use the New York Times to prop you up when all you do is rail on them? I would take that line out of there. But yeah, you know, Trump just has to. Isn't there a rally this week too? Mm-hmm. I think there's a rally, so you know the craziness that's going to come out.
There's a big Bitcoin rally in Miami. There's a Bitcoin rally, biggest ever, 50,000 are in Miami this week. It's a bunch of parties we're being invited to. I may attend one. I don't know yet. I may attend one. The only reason I'm saying I may not because I got next week is a pretty crazy week for us and we're gone. But yeah, we may. So look, here's what I think about this year. Okay, here's what I think about this year. So there's three parties here. Number one is he's out of his mind. There's the key word they use, which is their fear It says it has no basis under the Constitution of any legitimate legal framework. Okay, so that's that part. So somebody may say, well, for decades, they couldn't take the mob out until somebody came and taught at a university, hey, we wrote this law in here called the RICO law. Why don't you guys know? So they brought the attorneys in. You know the story. They brought the attorneys in. They trained the attorneys on how to take the mob down. Then the attorneys went out, and there was this young assistant attorney general. His name is Mr. Rudy Giuliani.
Rudolph
He comes out and he says, we're going to go after them. He hires 3 attorneys to work with them. Out of 150 attorneys he had to choose from, the 3 attorneys he chooses, guess how old these guys are? 29, 29, 30 years old.
Yeah.
He brings young bucks who don't have a lot of experience, and they say, hey, guys.
They don't stand on ceremony either.
No. They're just like, let's just go figure this thing. But they have energy, right? And they go. So meaning, one end, if there's creative attorneys to be able to figure out, if there's something out there they can do, more power to them. Second thing, if Giuliani is the guy that found the RICO law, and Trump hired him, and he was charging around $400,000 a month, by the way, when Giuliani was his attorney.
Money if you can get it.
Back
then?
Good money.
No, this was a year ago. This was a year ago.
Yeah,
a year ago. So if he hires them for $400,000 a month,
$400,000 a month, and all they can get was a landscaping place
that's
to
the point.
have.
That's the point. So if that happened and nothing was able to be figured out, what is that? So all these states, Kemp, Georgia, all of these things that was coming back, Arizona, hey. So,
they are finding stuff. It's just the Democrats have more attorneys. They did things to the letter of the law after they changed the law.
did you hear the one story came out that one of the
thing
mafia
Kemp did?
members got $3 million and 30,000 what do you call it, ballots to put in?
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear about that story?
No.
Now, here's what's going on.
How about the boxes that were taken away? Nobody ever wanted to talk about that. They literally showed the boxes being taken off the table, put under the table. Like, it's insanity.
Listen, you're talking about a couple things here. We talked about this yesterday. I think it's important for the audience to be thinking about this. So here's a few things. Just 100 years ago, okay? Just 100 years ago, gambling was illegal. Yes? Just 100 years ago, gambling was illegal. The first casino, legal casino that came out of New York was what year? 1978, the year I was born, right?
In New Jersey?
First one in Atlantic City, right? Okay, in 92, I think it was Fox Haven, Fox whatever it's called, Connecticut.
Shout out to, Foxwoods. Shout out to Greg
Foxwoods,
Dinkins.
Connecticut, That's shout out to Greg Dinkins' research for us, which was very helpful. Next, so gambling was illegal. The mob was doing it illegally. Online sports betting was illegal. There was no bookies.
This is 5 years ago.
This is 5 years, but I'm talking about go 100 years ago. We'll go 50 years ago. Bookies, they were only ran by the mob and gangsters. You go to, loan sharks. You were going out there and doing loan sharking. I give you $1,000, but you got to give me $1,300 back in a month. That's 30%. That's called payday loans.
That's student loans now. That's student loans.
Then you have drugs that was being sold, illegally. Now Amazon is supporting marijuana being legal, and the employees. And by the way, do you think in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, Amazon's going to be selling marijuana on their website?
100%.
If they could, 100% they will.
It bothers me to no
So they just figured that out, that they're going to do that.
The point I'm trying to make to you is all of these things were illegal just 50 years ago. Now they're multi-billion dollar industries that we're talking about, right? So the government and a lot of these Fortune 100 companies took their ideas from the mob and they're doing it. So maybe a lot of these political parties are sitting there saying, listen, man, the mob, the people control elections for a long time. Hey, maybe we ought to go pick up some of these playbooks, and they're using it and it's working effectively.
But
who knows if it's happening or not?
But who's the ringleader on the Republican side to actually organize this? That's the problem.
It's so divided, it's not even funny.
Look up, if you want to look up something, look up Color Revolution. If you want to know what happened in America, look up Color Revolution. What should scare you about that, when people talk about the quote-unquote deep state and you get into the conspiracy theories, it's not a conspiracy that there are CIA operatives and FBI operatives that are partisans, that have actively tried to circumvent our duly elected process, okay? They're on record, both CIA and FBI. And they've done this in other places. When people talk about they hate us because of our freedoms, people around the world hate us because, no, they hate us because we do shit like this to their elections all the time. We interfere in these elections overseas all the time, the way our deep state interfered in our election this time. We do this across the world.
But by the way, we got a bunch of activity that took place, and people want us to talk about the Fauci emails. Paul Lee Brandt gave $100 to can we talk about the Fauci emails. Little Rock, $100. I was a Russian linguist in Army during the 80s. I was a truck driver during working through undergrad. I have a BS and an MS in electrical computer engineering. I'm now a lawyer and cannot understand how anyone believes Fauci after his mask fiasco. What do you think about emails? Little Rock, why don't you text us at 310-340-1132. Send us a text at 310-340-1132 and let us know you're Little Rock, and we'll see what we can do here. But so look, here's all I'm saying to you is, if the folks on the left or the right got more creative to win, salute. If they broke the law, they got to be held accountable.
There we go.
Well, but if they figured out a way to get away with it, you were creative.
What did our president say? Our sitting president, the most popular president of all time, by the way, got more votes than both Donald Trump and Barack Obama. Can't put a full cogent sentence together.
Greatest campaigners of all time.
Doesn't work
Most
weekends
popular,
either.
greatest campaign. He spoke at least once a month on the campaign trail. Guy was tireless.
Got a top-notch son, man, Hunter.
Oh, again. But there's no corruption in our FBI at all. None. All right, yeah. What did he say though, Patrick? And this should scare them, because if they're trying to go with that last line that you said, that's their line of defense. That's the mainstream. There's no constitutional. What did Joe Biden say? Didn't Joe Biden? I don't forget what the exact quote was, but it was something like, "There's nothing in the Constitution that's forever. Everything in the Constitution."
Oh, when he was talking about stacking the court.
Everything in the Constitution is available to change with my leg hair, and Popeyes was a bad dude. Yeah. This is
reaching out on the inside of my leg.
They used to braid my hair.
I have hope and optimism. I think there's enough people that might be okay. Good people. I don't think you can keep this secret. If laws were broken,
I don't think so.
I think eventually over time. Look at Fauci.
No, eventually yes, but what's eventually?
Years, unfortunately.
Give me a timeline.
2 to 3 years.
No,
I mean,
I disagree.
There's too many people involved.
I don't think it ever does. One of the most formative.
I think it's 30 years.
See, that's why I believe we went to the
moon.
moon.
Next generation.
I think it's 30 years.
It's legacy for sure.
I think it's 30 years. You're going to the movies. You're sitting there saying, "No freaking way." And kids are like, "That would never happen." We're like, "We lived through this." But it's a movie 30 years from now, kind of like Argo, explaining what happened in Iran.
Maybe 50.
Yeah,
but
it's the most. Sorry, the most. Just because it goes on this, the most formative book I've ever read in my life. The book that I read that most formed my worldview is the Gulag Archipelago. All right, by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Right, and one of his biggest lines. Have you ever read the Gulag Archipelago? No. He wrote this while he was in the Gulag. He was a political dissident in communist Russia.
Pull up this book so people can see which book he's talking about.
He had to hide it. He wrote this over the course of 10 years while he was a political prisoner. He had to write it, and then he published it. It was illegal. It was punishable by 10 years hard labor in Russia if you were caught reading this book when it came out in 1978. And it describes all of the horrors of far leftist communist tyrannical governments and how it represses freedom. And one of the lines in the very beginning of the book is, "We know they are lying. They know that we know they are lying. We know that they know that we know they are lying, and yet still they continue to lie." And that is the power.
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
We know they are lying. Okay. This is Alexander Solzhenitsyn.
Yep.
We know they're lying. They know that we know that they're lying. We know that they know that we know they are lying, and yet still they continue to lie.
Powerful.
That is the power principle.
Powerful.
Yeah. That's the gall of the powerful. Yeah. They'll do whatever they did whatever it takes to get power. Now they have to do whatever it takes to keep it.
There you go. So in reality, I think what we're all saying is nothing's going to change. This election's going to go
unless we change it.
No, but with the next 3 years, you think anything's going to change with 50-50 Senate and
this midterm is going to be a bloodbath.
How bad? How bad do you think it's going to be?
This midterm, it has to be a ground war.
Yeah, but do you think it's going to flip? Do you think the House is going to flip?
I think in order to make the House flip, you have to match what they're doing. You have to take their playbook. Well,
then you got to start now because the election's next year.
It needed to start. It needed to start 2 years ago when their action front.
How much is Trump needed for that? How much is Trump needed to do the groundwork?
I go back and forth. That's a great question. I go back and forth because he riles up his side, but he also activates the other side. And that's something where, like, DeSantis, I think, activates his side without activating the other side. It's a really, really interesting question.
You think DeSantis could win?
I do. I especially think a coalition of DeSantis and a Tulsi or a DeSantis and a Manchin. And it won't happen for donation reasons. But I tell you, a coalition party like that, a coalition where
DeSantis,
Tulsi,
Manchin, oh my
Tulsi comes over. Don't forget, Tulsi comes over. Look what Tulsi did to Kamala twice already. Yeah. she would have to debate Kamala again if she was the VP.
Here's the problem with Trump. He could empower a big flip in the House if he could. He can't think small. That's his problem. So if you were equated to an actor, all he can think about is being in a blockbuster movie and winning an Academy Award. He's not going to go off Broadway. He doesn't give a damn about that. Same thing in baseball. He wants to play in the World Series, doesn't care about the minor leagues. He could get a groundswell of support to help flip the House and be a real force that way. But all he can think about and all he can talk about is they're going to reinstate me in August. He's only thinking about the biggest prize when they actually could use the power that he has on the ground level.
He's also, to your point, at 60 minutes he's going to talk. 59 minutes of that is going to be powerful. His base is going to be happy. He's going to say one thing in 60 minutes that's going to be a soundbite that, again, is then used and played to activate the other side. It's gonna be manipulated. He can't help himself but being edgy, and he wants that soundbite. He wants to dominate the news cycle. He thinks in terms of media. And again, what Sun Tzu? What does Sun Tzu say? Right? Never stop your enemy when he's defeating himself. Like that's what he does all the time. The best thing the Republicans have done in the last 2 years is shut up and let people hear what Democrats are actually saying.
Right.
Let them hear what you're actually saying. Like, whoa, what's this Green New Deal? Yeah. Hold on. If I give you all my money, you're going to change the weather? Yeah. Like, wait, what?
Trump has to worry because you talk about playing dirty. That district attorney in New York will do whatever she possibly can to take him down.
Absolutely.
And I think that's his biggest battle right now. He's got some serious issues on the legal front.
So if you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here's another short segment to watch. Or if you want to see the entire podcast, click over here. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.